Hey, it's Armando. I am going to be reading from this book that I published. It is a three-part series. This is book one. The series is called Recuerda a los Tigres, Remember the Tigers. And this book is called Wolf Chases Tiger. Chapter 1, El Tigre, Ricardo DelGato. Ricardo was working a delivery and running behind schedule, adrenaline pumping. The pickup had not gone smoothly, and he was frustrated. One of the rules of the group he worked for was that delivery and pickup should never be at the same location at the same time, and their identities were not to be known by each other. The drop window was 1 hour, and if you missed that mark, you ate the cost of whatever you were dropping. Ricardo had never missed the window, but today he was cutting it close. His motorcycle rumbled as he pushed the throttle to make up time. Ahead, riders rode in a tight formation, like a group of soldiers. "Are they out for a Sunday cruise?" he mumbled under his breath as he gained on them. The smell of their exhaust and the dry heat of the desert made him feel a little nauseous. He had been awake and on his bike since 3 a.m., and he was tired. As he came parallel with the last rider, he revved the bike and began to overtake the others. He didn't look at the riders as he passed, but simply swerved into the oncoming lane and gunned the motor. He was almost to his destination, where he would make his drop and get some fuel and a much-needed drink. He pulled into a small gas station in the middle of nowhere, South Texas, and quickly went inside the dilapidated old building. He dropped the package into the trash can, indicated on his instructions. He looked at his watch, 3:35, as he grabbed a beer from a tub full of dirty ice. He walked to the counter and tossed a crumpled bill onto it. "The rest for gas," he said around a cigarette he was lighting as he nodded toward the gas pump. He could hear the faint rumble of motorcycles coming. He glanced at the wall clock, 3:39. He walked briskly to the pump and unscrewed the gas cap on his Triumph Tiger 110 and inserted the nozzle. 2.5 gallons later, he was capping his tank when the first of the bikes rolled into the gravel lot, navigating the potholes like two-wheeled black leather dancers. The bikers filed in and backed up to the wall facing him, a loud, raucous lion of menace. They all revved before killing their motors in unison. The silence felt as loud as the chorus of engines had been, and equally as dangerous. A burly, bearded rider in a half-helmet made his way to Ricardo. Stopping a few feet away, he said, "Malo." He paused for a moment, as if expecting Ricardo to respond. Ricardo simply ignored him. "Do you know what that means, Weddle? You think you can pass our column, disrespect us, and just ride on?" The other riders were crowding in behind their spokesman. Ricardo knew to never pass the front member of a motorcycle gang. It was considered a sign of disrespect and a challenge. In his haste, the thought had never crossed his mind. 3:41. He unwrapped the chain he was wearing crosswise over his torso and back and pulled a knife out of the top of his boot. Crouching, he swung the chain in a slow, counterclockwise motion, full of menace and aggression. This needed to be over quickly, so he didn't waste time on words that would make no difference. "You can't take all of us," one of the bikers said through gritted teeth. "Maybe not," Ricardo responded, "but the ones I take won't forget the day they fought a tiger." This was a familiar scene to Ricardo. All of his life, he had faced these same obstacles and odds. The white Americans didn't respect him or look down on him as second class. The Mexicans and Mexican Americans didn't accept him as one of theirs either. His red hair and light skin put him on a separate class in their eyes. As a small boy, he had to become fierce and aggressive, like a little tiger with his back to the wall, all fangs and talons. He had been given the nickname El Tigre and did his best to live up to it. He had fought all of his life and had come to expect it. His short fuse was always smoldering. The spokesman of the biker gang swung on him unexpectedly, and Ricardo sidestepped him easily, wrapping the chain around his neck and jerking him backward. as he stepped past, an elbow smashing the face of the nearest man. His knife stabbed into the shoulder of another member, and he took a wicked blow to the kidneys that buckled his knees momentarily. He violently pulled the knife loose, and with an arching backhand swing, the knife blade slashed across the face of the man who had struck him. The spokesman lay on the asphalt, gagging and trying to catch his breath, and 2 others were out of action. 3 remained, one of which looked like he had no desire or intention of joining the fray. Number 4 pulled a knife of his own, and Number 5 wrapped a bandana around his hand while crouching in a defensive stance. The loud boom of a shotgun stopped the 2. "All right, that's enough," a thick, accented man shouted, seemingly as loud as the shotgun. "You," he shouted at Ricardo, "get on your bike and ride. There are only 2 directions you can go from here, and I'll make sure these gusanos go the other way." 3:45. The man stood with his shotgun trained on the 2 men standing, while the third stood quietly, an impassive, almost blank expression on his face. He and Ricardo locked eyes for a moment, and Ricardo knew who the actual leader of this group was. There was something vaguely familiar about this man, but he let the thought go, mounted his bike, and with a roar, headed into the shimmering heat waves. A large rattlesnake struck out ineffectively but purposefully as the motorcycle rumbled by, showering it with gravel and dirt. 3:47. None of the wounds were life-threatening, but there was a lot of blood between them. The bikers all struggled to their bikes, except the man with the passive expression. He went inside the station and walked directly to the trash can indicated in his instructions, reached in and stowed the package under his coat. He grabbed a beer from the same dirty ice and opened it as he walked toward the counter. His face held the same non-committal expression. Only his eyes gave truth to the danger just under the surface. 3:50. "You are early," the thick accented attendant said conversationally. "Am I?" the man asked, an underlying hint of something dark in his tone, an odd lilt to his voice. "What time do you think it is?" The attendant started to turn to look over his shoulder at the clock ticking on the wall behind him, but decided not to, keeping his eyes on the man in front of him. "Well, I'm not sure," he said with a smile on his face, unmoved by the other man's aggressive behavior. He took a quarter out of his pocket and threw it on the counter before turning and walking out without saying a word or looking back. Well, Jesus, Tiger. This is El Tigre right here. And then you'll meet Johnny Juan, that's his friend, in the next couple of readings.